Hey, party people, let's draw some haute couture. The shows were this past week. You should go check them out on the internet. Beautiful photos are everywhere. And today I want to draw some haute couture with you today. And I want to talk about a few things that I think about when drawing haute couture. Because for me, what is the point of drawing some of the most dramatical, magical, over the top designs in all of fashion if you're not going to be completely dramatical about it? Okay, so let's bring the drama. All right, we're bringing the drama, and the first thing I think about is very elongated proportions, just really exaggerated proportions. Okay, stereotypical, like human beings, like women, they're about 7 to 8 heads tall. Typical runway models, they're about 8 to 9.5 heads tall. Like on the low end, we have like Kate Moss, Trish Goff, Devin Aoki. And then on the taller end, we have Carly Kloss, Nadia Auerman. And Giselle Bundchen's like a 9, 8.5 head just because she has such a long face. Whatever. The size of the head and proportions of the body doesn't really measure anything other than that. I'm not saying like, oh, you have to have a tiny little head like Nadia Auerman to be a great model. So don't get it twisted, all right? But when we're doing fashion illustration, your standard fashion illustration is often 10 head. But with couture, I like to do like an 11 head proportion, like a really long, like really stretched out, like it's like fashion meets ballet, just in terms of pose, not anything else. Okay. I also like to think about things in terms of like a really exaggerated pose. Okay. Like this is very beautiful. It shows off this Schiaparelli gown beautifully. But like if I'm putting my twist on it, I want like a really, I don't know. Like if I have them leaning on a wall and, I have something, let's see, can you even see this? I'm going to switch to something slightly darker just in case you can't. And we have something where it's like leaning. Okay, and maybe and I want this to like push this leg back and push this leg forward. Okay, and she's just like, you know, and even as I'm working, I'm pushing the gesture with every stroke because I'm so used to just drawing like regular poses that show off the design, express design communication so you can see all the features, all the boring stuff that designers have to think about when they're illustrating stuff. It's like really pushing the gesture. So I'm moving her face forward. Her neck is elongated and her arm is over her head. Okay, her clavicle is up like that, and her arm is stretched out. And whose spine curves like that? Not a lot of people. Not a lot of people, okay? I mean, it could go even longer if I wanted to, okay? But like really push that gesture. And this thing has like they've got this hose or some sort of tool net mesh situation over their faces. So you do have kind of like a blunted profile. It's been kind of smushed, kind of, I don't know, blended out by the silhouette of the mesh. And then we have a breast in here. And a breast in here. And the tips of the gown go in here, very low in the front. Normally, this kind of scrunching would allow for some wrinkles, but this is so heavily sculpted and beaded that you would like normally if you're bending sideways, I would see like wrinkles in here from the fabric scrunching, but that's really not happening here. And we have this like, can you see that how it sticks out? We have this piece which leads us to my next point where I really like to push the proportions of the garment themselves. Like I still want to express the garment as closely as possible, like making sure that this neckline and this is all looking like the gown. But something like this, where you have protrusions and things, I want like a little exaggeration. So I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit more than you might actually. And, you know, here's her hip coming out like that. And this is very sculpted, so I'm just going to leave it incredibly sculpted like that. And this is coming like that, you know, and we've got this middle piece in here getting kind of close to the haute couture. It's getting close to the haute couture, if you know what I mean. And we're in here. This was a really beautiful collection, by the way. Like, I don't know, if you've been watching all of my runway reviews, then you know that at one point I was kind of like, oh, these clothes, there was a couple of seasons where I'm like, oh, these are kind of boring. This was not boring. This collection was beautiful. So I'm into it. And then we have the circles in here. Our thorn situation over here. And then I'm tapering it in. I don't have a back view. Hopefully there's a slit. Or maybe we just keep it like really tapered at the bottom. And she is wearing full-length glove. And her arm is probably too long proportionally to the rest of her body, but really want that elongated look. She does have a bit of an earring in here. It's coming out of the tulle. Here's her other hand coming from the mat. There's her clavicle in here. And I like the idea of it kind of tapering down. You know, these kinds of like fashion illustrations are not about like, they're not flats. They're not about giving you like technical proportions and top stitching and structure, but like really giving the drama and the feel and the emotion of a piece. So, you know, that's how I approach illustrating Haute Couture and other like really dramatical. I know the word is dramatic. It needs extra. I'm using the word dramatical because it kind of rhymes with magical and I'm into it. Okay. I'm in a mood. I'm also in a very highly caffeinated mood. I absolutely made a mistake by starting the black where it should not be, but I'm kind of into it now, so I'm just rolling with it. Because I know you're going to ask, I'm using soft pastels today, which is rare for me. I used to use them a lot more in model drawing class and fashion school, and I still enjoy it a lot. And I'm really hoping to be that little old lady who just is retired and doing a lot of fashion illustrations for funsies. And I think I'll have time to do more soft pastel exploration, but I don't know a lot about soft pastels. We were encouraged to buy these Prismacolor new pastels when we were in school. I was gifted, or I don't even remember how I came across this packet of Rembrandt soft pastels. These are what I'm working with. Um, the new pastels are a little bit harder, as in like less soft, and so the color payout is a tiny bit less, but it's also less powdery, which I like for drawing as opposed to like filling in and blending. So yeah, I'm not a soft pastel expert. I just have fun with it. You know, this is a pose and clothing that doesn't need any more like dramatization in the proportions or the pose. I mean, you could barely see her body anyway, so whatever. So we're just gonna go with that. And then her neck is very long and her arm is up here. And just catch that angle. Well, okay, let's try to get the pose, get the angle of her arm and her hand. And we're in here. And, you know, there is a little bit of a, like an actual solid bodice, like right in here, I think, that is a foundation for, this is Cheney Chen. Listen, I don't know how to pronounce their name, but, and I have a lot of mixed emotions about this collection, but this photo that I found on their Instagram is really beautiful, so we're just gonna go with it. So even when you have like a big mass like this, just try to follow its really beautiful shape and texture. You're not going to be like delineating every single feather in here. I mean, there are definitely people who are into that like really photorealistic kind of rendering. That's not my super jam, but you know what? You do you. Okay. Now the width of this goes past the hand. So we're over here. This up here goes all the way. Do you see how there's kind of like chunks of feathers that are going? I just like to get in here like that. So I want to make sure I'm getting in here, but not into her skin. If we're blowing wishes into the air, you know what I really want to do is do some runway sketching. I don't know if I could do it with soft pastels because that's a lot of time. And runway sketching, you need to be so fast. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, just because it's just like this mass of feathers, that doesn't mean there isn't any shapes. Like you have the elongated chunks in here, you have this big front piece in here, and then an under piece. And I'm gonna kind of, I'm sensing a swirl pattern in here. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm just adding a little depth to places. Okay. I don't have a huge color range, but I do want to add And then I'm going to throw in some texture. Again, just like the other one, you don't need to, you can let things fade out artfully. And I would say that that is something that you can really practice, is to try drawing the same thing over and over again, but learn the artful taper, the artful sort of like letting go of some details so that you are getting in there and you're giving the overall look of what's happening without every single little piece. This is another one where I really want like a fun pose. You know, the most dramatic poses are the ones where the angles pop, pop, pop back and forth. That's like, you know, that's the most. There's your bust, there's your shoulder, there's your neck, head sort of direction, and then pop, hip, pop, one leg, pop, the back leg. This one is coming down and forward, and this one. But see, the skirt is so big, and I want that skirt to be like, pow! So I want to keep the top looking kind of small, like to not distract from the pop of the skirt. So I'm actually going to keep the arms kind of close to the body. And then this skirt, oof. Okay, it's like above the ankle and it's coming like that. And of course I'm going to exaggerate it. You know what? That's not even that exaggerated. This skirt, it's a little exaggerated, but this skirt is already like doing a lot. So we don't even need to exaggerate that much. And that's coming up like that. And that's the back, because it's see-through, so you can see all of that. And there's the second tier. And that's coming around the back like that. And we have this piece that's covering the breasts like that. And then I kind of want, I love the look of, oh man, it's going to sound terrible, because I just really like the way, like, the features are blunted, but just from an illustration standpoint, because now it makes me sound like I'm like erasing models' identities, wearers' identities. It's not about that. I just love that whole look of the mesh, just like the visual of it. I'm not trying to make this piece very fat or wide or exaggerated, because the exaggeration comes from the shape and the wire cage and not from the effect of these flowers. And again, this is about creating, you know, that mood of drama and effect, and not really about this is how the flowers are formed, which, hey man, you know, if that's your illustration style, freaking go for it. It can't be me. You know why? I just don't have the patience. Okay? That's just not how I like to draw. So, but if that's how you like to draw, you do you, boo boo. I mean, it is not helping that this whole runway is very dark, but you know, we do what we can. But, you know, it just really, you know, gives me a ready excuse like, oh, yeah, the runway was dark. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. She has a black skirt in here, but I kind of don't care. Okay, where are these wires going? Here. I would love to be at a couture show, just like illustrating my little heart out in the corner. This is black pastel. This is not charcoal. This is a black Caran d'Ache. Oh, no, wait. Yes, it is black. Okay. I like that. I mean, all told, I like the pink one best. I think this one turned out the best. But I love a good drawing sesh. All right, that was how to draw haute couture. If you want to discuss the haute couture collections with me, come join us on Patreon at the Meetup Gang tier. We're going to be doing a whole jam session with everyone talking about the haute couture shows. So click the video description for a link to my Patreon. And yeah, drop me your video requests and your questions in the comment section below. We are continuing to make our corset in the coming weeks, and I will see you in the next video.